Hello 102 students. So I have created this video to show you how you are supposed to be grading yourselves for the Unit 6 video. So that is your stories. So what I'm doing first is I'm going to explain a little bit about it, and then I'm going to give you a bit of a sample so that you kind of understand what it is that you're going to be doing. So I'm going to be using a story that I did a few years back of Ith, planet Ith. And then I'm just using the evaluation sheet here. It's the e-rubric that I believe is on Blackboard and on NGrade. Okay, if you would rather use what's in your book, that's fine. You just circle the little guys instead, and then you give that to me. Or if you want to use this guy and print it, and then do it that way, that's fine too. I'm doing this because I'm an Excel nerd and I like to do this. So, first thing about Unit 6. This is a difficult unit to get an A on. The reason is because this, unlike any of the other units in ASL 101, 102, is not graded on a curve. So you're just getting X amount of points out of X amount of points. Okay, so if you do it perfectly, you get a 4 out of 4. Right on that section. And how many times are people going to do it perfectly? Okay, so don't be discouraged if you don't get an A on this, because it is difficult to do. I've found in the past that this is a pretty accurate representation of a student's skill. Even though students will practice a lot and stuff, it's still fairly accurate. So I will be looking at, when you give me this paper, then I'll be looking at that. I'll be going through it. I probably will not be giving video feedback unless there's something that I really need to get across visually, at which point I will, but otherwise I just do not have the time to do it. Instead, what I'll be doing is that I'll be watching it and I'll be looking at this piece of paper or this screen, and that's how I am going to be judging your videos, so that I can grade them, so that you can then find out if you need to take the final or not. Okay, remember, I only have like 24 hours to do it, so please don't ask me what'd you think of, what kind of grade do you think I had got on my story or whatever, because I just won't have the time to answer it. So, using this here as an example, I'm going to be the student here, so this number is going to come up, right? But I'm going to start out by, this is chronological, so background, opening phrase is appropriate. Okay, so looking at Planet Ith a few years back, right? I'm introducing myself, right? Of course, you wouldn't be doing this in a classroom setting, right? Is it appropriate for the situation? Yes, it is. Okay. Then I do a little bit of extra explaining that I didn't need to do. Okay, so I'm going to give myself a 3 out of 4 right here, okay? Okay, and so I'm still going on trying to set it up. I'm still introducing myself. Again, the video quality of this is very poor, right? I also was hearing interpreters at this point, so I altered what I was saying a little bit to fit what the interpreters were saying. Okay, now I just said the name of the story. Okay, now I'm wanting to see if I set up the clear picture of the scene. Okay, so here I am. Okay. Okay, there's some classifiers that I'm using. I have a pretty clear picture of what's going on and who's doing what. I would say it's a pretty clear setup, so I'm adding that. Was there a clear transition between when I was starting and when I'm doing it? Yeah, I'd say that it was appropriate. Okay, my role shifting seems to be clear. My word order seems to be clear. I would hope so. Okay, it clearly was using role shifting. So far, it's very consistent. Okay, if I were in class, I probably wouldn't be taking full steps, but I was on stage, so that's appropriate. Okay, so I'm just going to be going through like this, and I'm going to do this throughout the whole story. So the story is long, and I'm not going to go through the whole thing. But you see how I'm doing it is that I'm just watching, and I'm just then going right to my rubric, and I'm responding as I see. Okay, so let's say that it was, oh well, I didn't use any classifiers at all, or hardly any classifiers. So yeah, that was gone, let's say. So then that would mean that it's not accurate and it's not consistent because they weren't there, right? But the verbs that I had, those were pretty clear. The overall reactions were appropriate. It wasn't, it didn't need to be sped up or slowed down. So, but you know, there was a couple times that it would have been better if, so I'm going to give myself 3 out of 4 on that. The big conclusion that was it appropriate if there wasn't a transition, was it okay that there wasn't a transition? Yes, let's say that was good. Let's say that the punchline or the climax of the story was clear. Everybody had a certain effect or reaction to it, which that was appropriate. Also, was the ending appropriate? Should there have been something else there, or was it appropriate? Now this story, as an example, that I intentionally leave a certain cliffhanger moment that the audience is supposed to go, oh, right. And so because of that being intentional, was it appropriate? In this case, yes, it was. But if the audience was like, okay, they're done, then that's when that would not be appropriate. Okay, so I use the term punchline, but it doesn't necessarily need to be funny. It just needs to be the clear climax of the story. Okay, now this in delivery, this is in general. Okay, signs are clear and accurate, meaning, oh, I know that I signed this wrong and this wrong and this wrong, or my classifiers were not clear or whatever. Then let's say, okay, I got like, let's say 2 out of 4 with that. Okay, speed of delivery was deliberate and appropriate. Okay, so it was not how long was it, but should I have sped up or slowed down in general? You know, was it just like the audience was like, whoa, what happened? Or, you know, was it clear? Was the speed clear? Okay, so let's say 2 with that. Okay, eye contact with audience was maintained, or with the audience or the camera was maintained when in narrator role. Now this is an example of, you saw at the beginning, I was looking at the audience as I was introducing myself. Here, I'm not, because I'm in the role. Okay, that's appropriate. Okay, so I wouldn't mark myself off for not making eye contact when I'm taking the role of the character. So let's say that was good. Overall, the amount of detail was appropriate for people to understand what was going on. It was visual, it was entertaining, or no, I was just telling the story. I wasn't showing the story. Okay, so because I know that this story I did again later and it was a lot more visual, I'm going to say 2 out of 4. Okay, audience was entertained. It got the reaction that I was looking for with this, right? So yes, and did they know what I meant, right? Was what I was trying to get across clear, right? You can tell this a lot of times by the audience reactions. Okay, so let's say, well, no, not always, right? That I can interact that way. Overall, how clear was the story? Okay, so the clarity of the signs, the clarity of the intent, the clarity of the climax of the story, how clear was it? Okay, so I put in my my numbers here. If you do it in this way, it calculates automatically for you right here. Okay, so I'm going to close this now and show you. Okay, so if I'm looking at this, okay, what worked really well? Let's say I'm like, my role shifting was really clear and consistent. Okay, and then I just said, for the sake of, oh, I spelled it wrong, for the sake of showing you that, yeah, hardly any classifiers needed these. Okay, stuff like that. let's see, could even do like, oh, general affect characters was also good. So I'm not even using complete sentences there. That's fine. Okay. So I got this, and then I went through, and it's all added up for me. It would be like, this other notes would be, did I sign whatever XYZ correctly? You know, or not sure if audience didn't react because I was unclear, or if they just didn't know those signs. Okay, things like that. Okay, then I can just take this, just like this, and I will email it to me, right? So if I were the student, I would then just email it, just like this. Then what I'll do is that I come in, and then I'm going to watch it, and then I'm going to say, oh yeah, I agree that this, and it's going to also automatically start calculating, okay? And then this is what I will send back to you. So it's probably the easiest for me if you utilize this version and you do it, and you email it to me directly like this, because I'll just be able to open it up, watch your video, put in my score, and then send it right back to you, and then input the grade, and then you'll know about the final. So that's probably the easiest way, but certainly not the only way. If you want to just hand me the piece of paper, then I'll get my stack of that, and then I'll just go through them and then go through that way. Okay, so that's how I do that. Sometimes I'll even just open up one of these of my own, and then I'll even print it on the piece of paper, you give it to me or whatever. But anyway, so that's how you would do that. If you do this part of it, right, then it is helpful to me if you add these up. Just add the number here. And I have like the totals here of what it is, right, so just to help. So best score would be an 88. 88 points is what that is. Okay, so this would be if you're writing it out. Okay, so circle this, you just go and just count those numbers. Okay, and then that's when you would put like, I don't know, 66 out of 88. Okay, that's how you would do that. Otherwise, I'll do it. And again, because time is an issue, that you know, I would prefer the other way. However, I will accept it this other way. So anyway, that's an example of how you should be utilizing your rubric of how you're going to grade yourself. Okay, so hopefully that answers your questions. And again, I just want to reiterate that if you're getting a 74%, that's pretty normal. But that's also all the more reason that I'm wanting to get this going, so that you can know if you have to take the final exam or not. So anyway, that I think about covers it. If you have any other questions, then let me know. But I think that I covered everything. So good luck. Break a leg. Well, I don't want you to break a leg, but I don't know if we should count this as a performance-based thing. Anyway, I'm excited to see the stories. Thank you.